अगला प्रश्न कह रहे हैं, वेदांत में बताया गया है कि जगत मिथ्या। यदि जगत मिथ्या है तो जगत में किया हुआ कर्म भी मिथ्या ही होगा। फिर हम सही कर्म और गलत कर्म की इतनी चिंता क्यों करें? जब कहा गया है जगत मिथ्या तो उसके साथ ही कहा गया है कि ब्रह्म सत्य। और सत्य दो चार तो होते नहीं। अगर ब्रह्म सत्य है तो ब्रह्म के अतिरिक्त और कुछ सत्य नहीं हो सकता ना। फिर तो जो कह रहा है जगत मिथ्या वो भी सत्य नहीं हो सकता, क्योंकि ब्रह्म को तो कुछ कहने सुनने से कोई मतलब ही नहीं है। तो जो कह रहा है ब्रह्म सत्य जगत मिथ्या वो स्वयं भी मिथ्या हुआ। और अगर जगत मिथ्या है तो जो व्यक्ति कह रहा है जगत मिथ्या वो स्वयं भी मिथ्या हुआ। तो जगत मिथ्या कहने का अधिकार सिर्फ उसको है जो स्वयं को भी मिथ्या जान ले, जो कहे कि ब्रह्म मात्र सत्य है, मैं भी मिथ्या हूं। प्रश्नकर्ता जो ये प्रश्न पूछ रहे हैं उनके लिए तो ये प्रश्न भी मिथ्या नहीं है। अगर ये प्रश्न मिथ्या होता तो क्यों पूछते? तो जगत कहां से मिथ्या हो गया? तो जब तक तुम्हारे लिए जगत मिथ्या नहीं हो गया तब तक निस्संदेह तुम्हारे लिए कोई कर्म उचित है और कोई कर्म अनुचित भी है। जो तर्क तुमने दिया है कि यदि जगत मिथ्या है तो सब प्रकार के कर्म और चुनाव भी मिथ्या हुए, तो फिर हम सही कर्म के चुनाव की इतनी चिंता क्यों करें? तुम सही कर्म के चुनाव की इतनी चिंता इसीलिए करो क्योंकि तुम्हारे लिए अभी जगत मिथ्या नहीं हो पा रहा है। जगत मिथ्या तभी होगा ना जब अहंकार मिथ्या होगा। तुम्हारे लिए अहंकार मिथ्या नहीं हो पा रहा है, इसीलिए तुम सही कर्म की चिंता करो। जब जगत मिथ्या हो जाएगा तो ये प्रश्न भी मिथ्या हो जाएगा, तुम भी मिथ्या हो जाओगे, मैं भी मिथ्या हो जाऊंगा, फिर कुछ नहीं बचेगा। इस बातचीत का कोई अर्थ नहीं रह जाएगा फिर। पर इस बातचीत का अभी तुम्हारे लिए बहुत अर्थ है ना। अभी तो तुम्हारे लिए यह भी आवश्यक है कि तुम सही प्रश्न पूछो, तुम्हारे लिए यह भी आवश्यक है कि मैं सही उत्तर दूं, और फिर तुम उसे सही तरीके से सुनकर आत्मसात भी करो, कार्यान्वित भी करो। अभी कहाँ कुछ मिथ्या हो गया? अभी तो बहुत चीज़ों में बहुत प्राण बाकी हैं, बहुत कुछ है जो शेष है अभी। मिथ्यत्व तो तब आएगा ना जब सब कुछ जो होना था वो हो गया, कुछ शेष नहीं बचा, सब पूर्ण, सब खत्म। पूर्णता एक अंत भी होती है, एक खात्मा भी होती है। तुम्हें खात्मे की ओर बढ़ना होगा, तुम्हें अंत की ओर बढ़ना होगा, तुम्हें पूर्णता की ओर बढ़ना होगा, और उसकी ओर बढ़ो ये एक चुनाव है। इसीलिए तुम्हें सही चुनाव करना होगा, अन्यथा अधूरेपन का ही चुनाव करते रह जाओगे। जब अधूरेपन का चुनाव करोगे तो कुछ मिथ्या नहीं रह जाएगा, फिर तो बहुत चीज़ों में बहुत सार्थकता दिखाई देगी। यही लगेगा कि अभी ये भी कर लें तो ठीक है, अभी ऐसा कर लें तो कुछ फ़ायदा हो जाएगा। अधूरेपन की यही निशानी है ना। बहुत चीज़ें आकर्षित करती हैं अधूरेपन में और बहुत चीज़ें डराती हैं। तो जगत मिथ्या वास्तव में कहने का अधिकार सिर्फ उनको है जो ब्रह्मविद हो गए, जिनके लिए ब्रह्म एकमात्र सत्य है, जो ब्रह्म ही हो गए। बाकी लोग अगर जगत मिथ्या बोलेंगे तो ये एक प्रकार का आडंबर हो गया कि अपने आप को तो मिथ्या बोलते नहीं, अपने हाथ को मिथ्या बोलते नहीं, अपने विचारों को मिथ्या बोलते नहीं, अपने घर को, अपनी देह को, अपने परिवार को, अपने अतीत, अपने भविष्य को तो मिथ्या बोलते नहीं, अपने अस्तित्व को तो मिथ्या बोलते नहीं, जगत को मिथ्या बोल रहे हैं। ये बात कुछ जमेगी नहीं। लेकिन जब तुम अपने आप को मिथ्या नहीं बोलते हो तो तुम अपने लिए दुख खड़ा कर लेते हो ना। जो भी कोई कहता है कि वो है, वास्तव में यही कह रहा है कि अहंकार है। जब तुम कहते हो मैं हूं, तो तुम कह रहे हो अहम है, और अगर अहम है तो दुख है। अगर दुख है तो दुख को मिटाना होगा ना, तो दुख को मिटाने का मतलब है अहंकार को मिटाना, और अहंकार को ही मिटाने का फिर मतलब हुआ जगत मिथ्या। तो जब तक तुम हो तब तक तुम्हारे लिए जरूरी है कि तुम सही कर्मों का चुनाव करो, और सही कर्म वो है जो तुम्हें तुम्हारी पूर्णता तक ले जा सके, जो तुम्हारी वर्तमान स्थिति को मिटा सके। तुम्हारी वर्तमान स्थिति तुम्हारे लिए कुछ अच्छी तो नहीं है। देखो ना, वर्तमान स्थिति में तुम्हें सवाल पूछना पड़ रहा है, इसका मतलब उलझन है, बेचैनी है, बहुत कुछ अनुत्तरित है। उसी के पार जाना है, उसके पार जाओ। इसके लिए सही जीवन जियो, सही प्रश्न पूछो, सही कर्म करो। निशानी ही यही है सही कर्म की, कि वो तुम्हें सुलझाता चलेगा, वो तुम्हें पूर्णता की ओर ले जाएगा, वो तुम्हारे भीतर से ये भाव हटाता चलेगा कि छोटे हो तुम और तुम्हें डरने की और बचने की ज़रूरत है। जब पूर्ण हो जाना तब कहना जगत मिथ्या। प्रश्न है, श्रीमद् भगवत गीता के निष्काम कर्म ने मुझे काफ़ी प्रभावित किया है और बहुत समय से उसे अपने जीवन में उतारने का प्रयत्न कर रहा हूँ, पर निष्काम कर्म के सिद्धांतों पर चलना मुझे दुष्कर लगता है। कृपया मार्गदर्शन करें। निष्काम कर्म का अर्थ हमारे लिए है कि कामना पर आधारित कर्म करोगे तो और दुख पाओगे, और कामना पर आधारित कर्म तो आजीवन करते ही आए हो ना। तभी अब गीता पढ़कर निष्काम कर्म को नया नया जीवन में उतारने का प्रयास कर रहे हो। ये तो नहीं कहते कि मैं सकाम कर्म को जीवन में उतारने का प्रयास कर रहा हूँ, वो तो उतरा ही हुआ है। जिंदगी भर सकाम कर्म ही करा है। सकाम कर्म माने ऐसा कर्म जो अपनी कामनाओं की पूर्ति के लिए किया जाए। मेरे पास कोई कामना है, वो मुझे उपलब्ध हो सके, इसके लिए मैं कुछ करूँगा, ये सकाम कर्म है। वो तो कर चुके हो ना खूब, उससे क्या मिला, और कितना सुखदायी था वो कि उसकी तुलना में अब कह रहे हो कि निष्काम कर्म दुष्कर लगता है। निष्काम कर्म कर्म का कोई विशेष मार्ग नहीं है। देखते नहीं हो, नाम ही निष्काम, ये नहीं बता रहा यह शब्द कि किसके लिए काम करना है। हाँ, ये बहुत स्पष्टता के साथ बता रहा है कि किसके लिए काम नहीं करना है। किसके लिए काम नहीं करना है? कामना के लिए नहीं करना है। हाँ, गीता है तो ये भी कह दिया गया है कि कृष्ण के लिए करो, जो भी कुछ करो कृष्ण को अर्पित कर दो, कृष्ण को प्रयोजन मानकर करो इत्यादि। पर कृष्ण तो अमूर्त है, निराकार है। कृष्ण के लिए कुछ क्या करोगे और कैसे अर्पित करने जाओगे कृष्ण को? कहाँ बैठे हैं, कहाँ पाओगे? तो इसीलिए निष्काम कर्म को तो नकारात्मक तरीके से ही समझना पड़ेगा। निष्काम, अपनी कामना के लिए कर्म मत करो, क्योंकि आज तक तुमने अपनी कामना का ही पीछा किया है और पछताए हो। और पछताए अगर ना होते तो निष्काम कर्म की ओर क्यों आते? जैसे चल रहा था चलने देते। यहीं पर तुम्हें कुछ इशारा मिल रहा होगा। निष्काम कर्म सिर्फ उनके लिए है जो सकाम कर्म से पहले ऊब चुके हों, जिनको अभी सकाम कर्म में ही रुचि लग रही है, रस आ रहा है, मजे हैं खूब, वो निष्काम कर्म की ओर आएंगे तो उनको निष्काम कर्म वैसा ही लगेगा जैसा कि तुमको लग रहा है, दुष्कर, मुश्किल। और वो मुश्किल तो है ही। मुश्किल ना होता तो श्री कृष्ण अर्जुन को इतना समझाते क्यों? इतना ही आसान होता निष्काम कर्म तो जरा से इशारे से बात बन गई पड़ती होती, इतना क्यों समझाना पड़ता? तो निष्काम कर्म में जो कठिनाई निहित है उसको तो तुम तभी झेल पाओगे और पार कर पाओगे जब पहले सकाम कर्म से तुम्हारा मन ऊब चुका हो। तो मैं तुम्हारी इस बात को बिल्कुल चुनौती नहीं दूंगा कि निष्काम कर्म दुष्कर है। मैं तो तुमसे ये पूछूंगा, सकाम कर्म कैसा लगता था आज तक? निष्काम कर्म को बता रहे हो कि मुश्किल है, तो बताओ सकाम कर्म के साथ अनुभव कैसा रहा है तुम्हारा? उसकी बात करो ना। उसमें प्रवेश करो। बार बार पूछो अपने आप से, आज तक क्या खोया क्या पाया? कोई भी कामना वास्तव में पूरी हुई है क्या? दिया उसने तुम्हें क्या, और जीवन और ऊर्जा सारी ले गई। निष्काम कर्म वास्तव में कोई सिद्धांत नहीं है। निष्काम कर्म तो एक हारे हुए आदमी के जीने का तरीका है। निष्काम कर्म उसी को उपलब्ध हो पाता है जो पहले ये स्वीकार करता है कि हाँ, मैं जीवन से हारा हुआ हूं। कामना के मार्ग पर तो जीत प्रतीत होती है ना, जिसको दिखाई दे कि नहीं, कामना के मार्ग पर जीत नहीं है, खूब हार मिली है। निष्काम कर्म सिर्फ उसके लिए है, और फिर वो निष्काम कर्म की ओर स्वतः आ जाएगा। और जाएगा कहाँ? कामना हटी कि निष्कामता अपने आप आ गई। तो जब निष्काम कर्म मुश्किल लगे, जब कामनाओं को छोड़ना मुश्किल लगे, तो बस ये याद कर लेना कि कामनाओं से कैसे कैसे दुख पाए हैं। एक दुख है कामना का पीछा करने में, कामना की प्राप्ति में, और एक दुख है कामना का त्याग करने में। खुद ही तय कर लो कि दोनों में से बड़ा दुख कौन सा है। जब देख लोगे कि बड़ा दुख किधर है, तो छोटा दुख फिर दुख नहीं लगेगा। फिर समझ जाओगे कि ये जो छोटा दुख है ये वास्तव में मुक्ति का रास्ता है। फिर अपने आप जीवन में निष्कामता आ जाएगी। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, व्हाई थिंक सो मच अबाउट डिसीजंस? Shouldn't our decisions be spontaneous? I like to decide in a free flow. So the questioner is stressing on the spontaneity of decisions. He says that he likes to decide in a flow. It's a good thing, your intention is good. But we have two flows within us. One is the flow of conditioning, and the other is the flow of freedom. And both these flows in many ways can appear similar or identical. And when you are in a flow, a stream, then movement is effortless. You get carried away. So you have to be very careful which stream have you chosen to be in. The conditioned stream or the free stream. You see, you are angry and you are saying a lot of things. In that moment, have you seen how the inner flow operates? In a sense, you are quite spontaneous at that moment, aren't you? But is there freedom in that spontaneity? Or is it just a kind of conditioned inner reflex? You are standing at a barren place, barren and dark, and somebody approaches from behind and taps on your shoulder. And you respond with a jerk, shocked. You didn't have to think for this response, right? But is there freedom in this response, or is this a totally conditioned response? The response was instantaneous, wasn't it? So that brings us to thought and time. Operating without thought, deciding without thought, is a great objective to have. But you have to remember that there is a stream that flows above the zone of thought, and there is a stream that flows below the zone of thought. Thought requires time. When you decide using time, when you decide thoughtfully, then that is one thing. Then you are in the middle zone. But your objective is to decide without using much thought. You don't want to bring time into the picture. Your objective, as you have mentioned in your question, is spontaneity. So that can happen in one of two ways. One, you become a totally conditioned machine. You start belonging to the stream below the zone of thought, and there no time is needed. It's like switching on an electric bulb or a fan. The moment you switch it on, the response from the machine is instantaneous. It's like bringing together two reactive chemicals. You bring them together and the reaction is instantaneous. But there is no virtue in this kind of spontaneity, because it is a totally conditioned spontaneity. And to a great extent, as human beings, we are conditioned. We, however, have the freedom to choose whether we want to decide from the stream of conditioning, or whether we want to decide and operate from the zone and stream of freedom. So you have to be very careful. Remember, spontaneity by itself is not a virtue. In fact, it is better to be thoughtful. It is better to take your time. It is better to reflect, meditate, contemplate. However, if your thought process is honest, then there comes a point when there is no need to think any further. When your inner faculty is trained to an extent that the need to think keeps continuously diminishing, and a point comes when the time required to think is so small that you could claim that you are spontaneous. However, without training yourself fully, if you are spontaneous, then it is a thing to be warned of. Spontaneity has to be earned. Otherwise, all that you will have is the spontaneity of machines or animals. They don't have to earn their spontaneity. A machine really did nothing to be spontaneous. It was designed that way. Similarly, animals are quite spontaneous in many ways. They don't really have to think or reflect or introspect. But there is little worth in that kind of a spontaneity. Much better, therefore, is to be thoughtful. The faculty of thought is a very important power of the human mind. It must be utilized fully. However, that does not mean that one must keep thinking endlessly, because as you have mentioned in your question, a decision has to be made. And if a decision has to be made, you don't really have unending time. So, thought must have the objective to come to a completion. Thought must not become an end in itself. That is very important. When you are thinking, then you must continuously be aware whether thought is just a tool to come to an ultimate end, or has thought become a self-serving machine. Remember, the possibility of thought becoming a self-serving machine is significant. It happens with many people, most people rather. We just keep thinking endlessly in some kind of a wasteful loop. You think about something and that induces fear or anxiety in you, and because it induces fear in you, so you are compelled to think more, and you think more, and that leads to more fear, and then this kind of a needless cycle continues. And you find that you are going over the same thoughts again and again, going through the same kinds of imaginations and options and choices and logics again and again. And all of that is leading to nothing. When you find that you are caged in that kind of a circuit, then you should know that thought has become self-serving. Right? Thought has to be a useful tool, a servant. Thought must be used to come to something beyond thought, because thought is, you see, movement. Thought implies lack of settlement. Thought is like a journey. You have not yet come to the destination. Journeying obviously cannot be the objective. It cannot be the objective, because in your heart you want to settle down, reach a destination, and that destination is a decision. You cannot feel relaxed unless the several options have been closed. And when thought proceeds, obviously it has several options to choose from, and all the mental activity is going on continuously. Thought feels empowered when there are options. But you feel discontented as long as there are options. For thought to continue, there must be uncertainty. For you to be relaxed, there must be certainty. Therefore, in a position of uncertainty, in a situation of decision making, use thought to come to certainty, to closure. Obviously, it should not be a forced closure, an artificial closure. It has to be an honest closure. Thought has to be diligently applied so that natural closure is attained. Right? But the intention has to be clear. You just won't want to keep thinking. When you apply thought this way, honestly, then the tendency of the mind to keep ruminating, to keep thinking, keeps diminishing over time. Right? And slowly you come to a stage where decision making starts consuming progressively less and less time. You find that certain options don't appeal to you anymore, so you don't have to think about them. Since you don't have to think about them, the time that would have been spent in thinking and about them and considering them and accepting or rejecting them, that time is saved. Because the time is saved, so the net time consumed by you in coming to the decision is small. Do you see what is happening? You are approaching spontaneity. And then a point can come when you are truly spontaneous. So it's great to feel in control. It's great to not to have to go through the time consuming and laborious process of thought and decision making. But that kind of luxury, I repeat, has to be earned. You have to earn your spontaneity. If you do not earn your spontaneity, then, I again repeat, your spontaneity is of the machine or animal type. They too are spontaneous. Right? We want spontaneity that is associated with freedom. In complete freedom, there is complete spontaneity. But at the same time, in complete bondage also, because there is no freedom, so things are instantaneous. A slave has no option to disobey. Therefore, when the master calls or commands, he has to instantaneously obey. Looking from a distance, you could call this as spontaneity. But is this the kind of spontaneity we want? Not really. Right? So, have the spontaneity of a free person, not the spontaneity of a slave. Right. Now, in this context, another question has arrived related to the current one. It says, what bondage are we talking of? If we are indeed enslaved, who is our master? Good question. It would clarify a lot of things. Our own innate physical primordial tendencies are our slave drivers. They command us. We talked about the machine and the animal. Let's take it forward from there. Who commands the animal? The animal is commanded by its own physical constitution. The animal really has no free will. The animal hardly has even any possibility of thought. The animal is not given that luxury or freedom. The animal does as the physical instincts of his self command him to do. If the physical instincts say run, he runs. If the instincts say eat, it eats. Sleep, it sleeps. It does not really think over anything. So that's the first kind of bondage, the physical bondage, the very inner bondage. And then there is the machine. We said the animal and the machine. The animal we have seen is commanded by its physical instincts. And the machine, who commands it? The machine is commanded by the persons who designed it, who made it. The machine is commanded by a force outside of its physical self. In that sense, you could say that the machine is commanded by the society. The machine has no free center within itself. The machine, in fact, does not even have its commanding master, its slave driver within itself. Right? Who, or rather, where is the master of the machine situated? Somewhere else, outside of the machine. The master of the machine stands at a distance from the machine and holds the remote control. Right? In the case of the animal, the master of the animal is situated within the body of the animal. Right? Though the animal is a slave, it's a slave to its own body. The machine is worse. The master of the machine is situated at a distance from the machine. Right? Nevertheless, both the animal and the machine are enslaved. Right? This is the condition of every human being. We have two masters. We have two masters. One is our own body. Second is the society outside of us. Our body rules us from within and the society rules us from outside. We do not want either of these slaveries. Neither do we want to be ruled by our body, nor do we want to be ruled by the society. That is freedom. So when we talked of the conditioned flow and the free flow, the conditioned flow includes two currents. The physical, biological current and the social current. The free flow includes none of this. In the free flow, there is just freedom. There is true spontaneity. Are you getting it? So, that's the aim of living. That is the aim in all genuine decision making. Decide in a way that your decision is uninfluenced by your physical tendencies and your social conditioning. Only then would your decision bring joy and liberation to you. Right? Next question. How to get success in whatever I do? The questioner says, how do I get success in whatever I do? Success does not lie in doing any random thing. That's the first, the most important, and probably the last thing. The game is not at all about picking up some arbitrary thing to do and then investing yourself fully in it, plunging into it, spending a lot of energy and trying to be successful. That's not the point. Do you know why you are doing a certain thing? Are you sure what is worthy enough to be done? That's the moot question. Choose the right thing to do. And in that lies success. In that lies immediate success. Immediate success implies that you have been successful right in the moment of the choice itself. You don't have to wait for the outcome. In fact, if you have to wait for the outcome to determine whether you have been successful or not, then you are already unsuccessful. Choose the right option. Make the right decision. Fight the right battle. And now it doesn't matter whether you win or not, because you are already victorious. Victory lies in choosing the right road to walk. It does not quite lie in reaching the destination earlier than others. In fact, it's a frivolous comparison. Am I reaching there earlier than others? Am I reaching there at all? It's not about reaching there in a comparative sense earlier than others. It is in fact not even about reaching somewhere at all. It is about the immediate moment in which the decision is made. The concept that we carry is that the real battle lies in attainment of the goal. The real battle does not really lie in the attainment of the goal, it lies in determination of the goal. What goal are you picking for yourself and why? If you fight the wrong battle, isn't victory worse than defeat? What's the point in speeding down the wrong road? What's the point in managing to obtain and eat huge quantities of food that your body does not need? Do you know your real inner need? Is your decision making aligned with your core self? That's the question to be asked. You must know who you are and what you really need. Who you are when you are not defined by others. Who you are when you are not ruled by your animal body. Who is it that you are? Once you know the nature of yourself, you also know what yourself is really asking for, longing for. And that makes your decisions. That decides what you would be choosing. That is the right decision. Now you stand by it because you are choiceless. You have known what you really need. And there is no going back. The game is over. The choice has been made. And it's the right choice. Since the game is over, therefore there is no future. Therefore you don't have to look forward to the future to know the result of the game. It was all about this moment. Did I decide rightly? If yes, game over. If no, game over. If I decided rightly, the game has already been won. If I decided wrongly, the game has already been lost. The future holds no significance at all. Are you getting it? The future is now a child's plaything. It will show you some situations. Events will unfold. But they will not hold any deep significance for you. You may get some money as a result of your decisions. You may lose some money. You may gain respect. You may lose respect. All that will happen, but on the periphery. Inside, you are already victorious if you have made the right decision. Outside, it may appear to people that you have lost a lot or won a lot, depending on how the future unfolds. But you, in your heart, know fully well that it's not about how things show up in the future. Irrespective of what the outcome of your decision is. The decision is right, you stand by it, you live by it, and that is success. There is no success in chasing a stupid goal and managing to attain it. If the goal in the first place is unworthy, what glory is there in attaining it more speedily than others? And mind you, more often than not, the common usual goals that we find people chasing are unworthy. The proof of that is that we all are dissatisfied. We all are restless, irrespective of whether we attain those goals or not. Ever seen any person satisfied with the goals that he has attained? In fact, the levels of dissatisfaction are hardly different between a victor and a loser. The victorious one does feel satisfied for a short time, and after that, the same old fire of discontentment comes to consume him again. Getting it? Why? Because that which he so effortfully won or attained was probably not worthy of being chased in the first place. So do not ask, how do I get success in whatever I do? You are trivializing action. You are saying, what will I do? Whatever. No. Whatever is not what you do. You have to be extremely careful about what you do. Much more thought, much more consideration must go into what is worthy of being done. Right? So pause, reflect, take your time. Be open and alert and inquisitive. Life is precious. Time is not to be squandered in chasing unworthy goals. Right? How do we say that a decision is right or wrong? What is right for one is wrong for the other. Nature has given everyone the right to decide. Who are we to label someone as wrong? Right or wrong really are not decided in context of others. You are right. Nobody has the right to label a person or a person's decision making as right or wrong. However, it does not mean that there is nothing called a right decision or a wrong decision. Understand it simply. What is it that we all fundamentally want? We want peace. We want relaxation. We don't want to be tense. We want contentment. Ever seen anyone who enjoys being dissatisfied or diminished or hurt or angry? So what is it that we all want? What is it that is a common universal need among humans? Peace and contentment. Nobody wants to be sad. We want a subtle, joyful state of consciousness. And we all want that, irrespective of the country we come from, our age, our gender, our religion, our ethnicity. It doesn't matter. Nobody wants to be sad. Nobody wants to feel hurt. So, if that is our core need, then you should know when to call a decision right and when to call one wrong. If your decisions lead to peace, joy, contentment for you, then they are right. Otherwise, they are wrong. And this decision regarding a choice being right or wrong obviously is not coming from others. It is about your own inner self. What is the impact of your choices on your life? That is what you must look at. Are your choices making you more insecure, anxious, jealous, unsettled, restless? Then it would be dishonest to call these as right choices for you. And it's not in a relative sense. It's not as if one choice that is right for this person will be definitely right for the other one also. However, as we cautioned earlier, it does not mean that any choice is all right. There is definitely something called a right choice, and there is definitely something called a wrong choice. And you have to be very careful because choices determine your life. Next, you have mentioned that nature has given everyone the right to decide. Yes, nature has given everyone the right to decide, and equally, nature has given everyone the right to decide foolishly. Remember, it's just a right. A right is an option. You may choose to exercise it, you may choose not to exercise it. Unfortunately, most people do not choose to exercise this option wisely. What is the option all about? The option is you could choose either from your heartful intelligence, or you could choose and decide from your conditioned self. Choosing, deciding, acting from your conditioned self is apparently easy because it hardly requires any effort. Therefore, most people allow their life, actions, thoughts, decisions, everything to come from their conditioned centers. It feels comfortable. But then the option to operate from the center of heartful intelligence is available. That is what brings joy and contentment to you. That is what brings liberation to you. But that option is scarcely chosen because there is a price to pay. And few people want to pay that price. We are lazy and stingy. We don't want to work hard enough. We want to avoid exertion. And we don't want to pay the price. So we don't go for the right option. So when you say nature has given everyone the right to choose, remember, the right is often not exercised wisely. It is upon you to make good use of the right, the power vested in you. At one place, you say, within quotes, to know your intentions, watch your actions. But at some other place, you say, action does not matter, the actor does. I see a contradiction here. Kindly clarify. When I say to know your intentions, watch your actions, I want you to be guarded against the hypocrisy of the ego. The ego loves to carry images of everything. It lives in imaginations. It has no truth. Therefore, all that it has is images. So it has images of everything, and obviously it has an image of itself as well. So the ego thinks, this is how I am, this is what I want. And it obviously carries a self-concept that is conducive to its own survival. That's all that the ego wants. It wants to keep fattening, it wants to continue in time. Survival is its aim. So the ego carries an image, and obviously it's a false self-image. And how do we challenge this image? How do we know that this image is false? By seeing what is it that we are actually doing, how is it that we are actually living. And there we would usually find a gap, a dissonance. We might keep thinking to ourselves that we are quite brave. But then, when we are forced to look at life, at our decisions, that is when we discover that there is hardly any bravery evident in our actions, in our choices. If you do not look at your life, you can happily keep imagining for a long time that you are the bravest one on the earth. Right? How do I discover that the ego is living in deliberate falseness about itself? By seeing my choices, my actions. Right? So I say, watch your actions. That is where you will discover that you are living in falseness. Or you will discover that all is well about you. Fine. And then when I say that actions do not matter, the actor does. What I mean to say is that when you are to decide upon an action, you have to be very careful about where the action is coming from. The action comes from the actor. Why do we have to be mindful of the actor rather than the action? Because we are the actor. Because it is the actor that feels and suffers. The action is just a manifestation of the actor. Are you getting it? The actor is the real thing. Why is the actor the real thing? Because all this discussion is for the sake of the actor. I am the actor, you are the actor. The actor wants to understand. The actor is restless. The action is not restless. Action in that sense is an insentient, inanimate thing. Action has no sentience, no consciousness. The actor is sentient. The actor has consciousness. The actor, we said, suffers. And because it is the actor that suffers, therefore, all the emphasis has to be on knowing the actor. Are you getting it? So, looking at action is obviously important. But you are not looking at action in order to know action itself. You are looking at action to know the actor. Looking at action and getting involved with assessment of the action will not take you very far. Action can be deceptive. The actor, to hide himself or to project a particular kind of image, can indulge in deceptive action. We experience that every day, don't we? Somebody comes with a very broad grin on his face. The grin, the smile is the action. But that action is deceptive. You know very well that the person is not really joyful from inside. He is smiling to you, but he does not even really wish you well. Therefore, action though insignificant in itself, is yet an important means to come to the actor. Are you getting it? The moot point remains this: you must know who you are. We are the ego self, and the ego self feels incomplete all the time, and therefore it is mandatory for it to indulge in action. It cannot rest, feeling incomplete, insufficient, problemed all the time. How can it rest? Therefore it continuously keeps acting. Therefore the ego is the actor. And since we are the ego, therefore to know ourselves is to know the doer. There is no way to know ourselves except by knowing the doer. And the doer is an invisible entity. How will you detect the doer? You cannot look at the doer with your eyes. With your eyes, all that you can look at is the doing. Therefore, the doing is important. Are you getting it? You want to know the actor, but the actor is invisible. Therefore, you must look at the action. You must look at the action, and that makes action important. But action is important only because it will lead you to the actor. Otherwise, action by itself holds little value. Is that clear? Next question. Sir, you have said right action is its own reward, wrong action is its own punishment. Basis your quote, the common man must choose right action and be naturally aversive to wrong action. But that doesn't happen. Kindly throw some light on it. Right action is its own reward, wrong action is its own punishment. But people still seem to be aversive to right action and going for the wrong action. So why this contradiction? That's the question. To whom are these rewards or punishments coming? You have to understand this. If someone has lived an entire lifetime based on wrong decisions, wrong actions, then what is it that has started appearing right to this person? But before we proceed, we must revisit what a right action or decision means. Right action is action that brings peace and relaxation to you. Right action leaves you with a reasonless contentment. It leads to a diminishing of the inner uncertainty and anxiety. That's right action. And that also defines wrong action for you, conversely. So, right action brings peace to you. But what if you are someone whose entire life is built on a sequence of wrong actions? You have become totally conditioned, totally acclimatized. You have invested a lot in the wrong. The wrong has started strongly appearing right to you. Now, when you make a truly right decision, what comes to you is truly the right reward, but that right reward is incompatible with your pre-existing life structure. So you suffer. And this explains why people avoid right action. People avoid right action because right action is incompatible with the entire edifice, the entire structure of their life. Are you getting it? People do not operate from a clean slate. Were people operating from a clean slate, from a zero base, with no past, no biases, no carryovers whatsoever, then everybody would have chosen in favor of the right action and decision. But people have a history, and that history is often full of wrongness. Not only have we lived wrongly in the past, we have raised great stakes in what is wrong. We are now caught, stuck. Now, if we even accidentally make a right decision, that right decision comes as a jolt to all that we have. It shakes up our foundations, though actually that's the best thing that can happen to us, right? But that right thing, that best thing, comes to us accompanied by a lot of suffering. Remember, the right thing is not bringing suffering to us. Suffering is because we have lived wrongly so far. But how would it appear on the surface? It would appear that life was smooth, there was hardly any suffering, and then I deviated from my normal course, took a so-called right decision, and that right decision has brought unnecessary suffering to me. So what does one do? One drops the right, and one goes back to his dated, pre-existing ways. Are you getting it? So the reward indeed did arrive, but we didn't like the reward. The reward was uncomfortable. Are you getting it? If there's a kid and the kid has been playing in mud, all drenched, the kid comes back. The right thing to happen to the kid is that he's put in the bathtub and then scrubbed, shampooed. That's the right thing. But this right thing will make him uncomfortable. It will make him uncomfortable, and he was very comfortable with all the mud and dust sticking to him, plastered to his body. Was he not? There was a stink arising from his clothes. But he had grown used to it over 4-5 hours. And after playing in the mud for so long, he was tired. He wanted to sleep. But the mother picked him up, put him in the bath. And the scrubber was really hurting, was it not? And some of the shampoo entered his eyes, and the eyes burnt. So the reward did come. If you are so unclean, is cleanliness not a reward? So right action is its own reward. What was the right action? Taking a bath was the right action. What is the reward? Cleanliness is the reward. So reward definitely came, but the reward made the person uncomfortable. Now you know why people choose the wrong. Even though the right thing definitely brings its own reward. But who likes that reward? We are lazy people. We are lazy people and often dirty too. Lazy and dirty. Think of the kid. The kid is dirty and feeling too lazy to take a bath. That's how most of us are. Right? Now look at the wrong action in the same condition. The wrong action is, yes, you can go and happily sleep now. You can go and happily sleep and spoil the bed sheet as well. And the pillow covers as well. Now the wrong action has come along with punishment. What is the punishment? One, you will keep stinking. Second, your skin will suffer. Third, you have spoiled the bed sheet and the pillow and everything. But this wrong action, the kid will feel quite happy and comfortable with. So the punishment is there, but what if you start liking the punishment? What if you start liking the punishment? Are you getting it? Now think of an imagined and ideal scenario. If the kid is not yet drenched in mud and he is given an option, do you want to stay clean or do you want to stay dirty? What would he choose? He would choose cleanliness. From a neutral position, he would definitely go for the right thing. Because he is not yet invested in the wrong thing. Because he does not yet have a history. He is at point zero. He is at time zero. At time zero, it is quite likely, quite possible to take the right decision. But please understand that none of us operate from a clean slate. None of us operate from point zero. We have a history and the history has become us. That is what is called conditioning, right? Your history takes your name. You are no more a free being. You are somebody who is determined by his history. And if you are determined by your history, then it requires discipline and determination to take the right action. Then the temptation to take the wrong action is very high. Most people succumb to that temptation. You should not. Next question. It is said that human beings get bad results and punishment if they enter into bad actions. But nothing of this sort is said for animals. Why does the law of karma not apply to animals? The law of karma does not apply to animals because animals do not really have a choice in their actions. And when there is no choice, there is no question of reward or punishment. Human beings are in a peculiar situation. They can choose to side with their animalistic conditioning, or they can choose something higher. They can choose freedom, joy, love, liberation, compassion. Therefore, humans have a responsibility. Animals don't have that responsibility. Animals are dictated fully by their biological conditioning. If there is a road accident here on the road outside, you do not really expect the street dogs to come to rescue and help the victims of the accident, do you? They are not supposed to. So you will not get angry at the dogs when they do not come to help the injured ones. A couple of bike riders have met an accident and they are lying on the road. And then there are birds on the trees and there are dogs roaming about. They will not take any special interest. There are so many insects around, aren't there? Some snake is there in the bush, right? They do not really care for these two creatures who are lying bleeding on the road. And they do not care and they will not attract any punishment because they are not supposed to. They just do not have the option to act in compassion. No animal can be compassionate really, because an animal is completely just prakriti. Animal really does not have the option to be a liberated consciousness. The animal's consciousness is completely dominated by its physical conditioning. Are you getting it? Therefore, the animal gets neither reward nor punishment, which is comfortable in a sense because the animal lives in a secure zone. A dog is born a dog, lives as a dog, and dies as a dog. And no dog lives in a state of consciousness that is very different from that of another dog. Are you getting it? You cannot say one dog is liberated and the other dog is not. You cannot say one dog is joyful and compassionate and the other dog is not. Dogs can have varying external situations, but internally all dogs are just dogs. This is not the case with human beings. Human beings can vary greatly in their internal states. One human being can be full of compassion and the other one can be spiteful, angry, vicious and violent. Getting it? Therefore, the one who is compassionate is rewarded. He made the right choice. The one who is vicious is punished by his viciousness itself. He made the wrong choice. So there is this great difference between animals and human beings, which also means that human beings must never justify their actions by taking examples of animals. For example, if you eat animal flesh, you cannot justify it by saying that a lion or a wolf too kills other animals to eat. A lion or a wolf has no option to not to kill. You have that option. Man is not necessarily a herbivore. Man is more of an omnivore. Therefore, that option is there. You could have decided to not to kill, but you chose in favor of killing, therefore you will be punished. A lion is never punished because the lion had no option. A lion has done nothing wrong. In fact, even if a lion kills a human being, really it has not committed a crime. That's how lions are. They are supposed to kill to eat. But if a man needlessly kills an animal, then the man will be punished. If not by law, then by existence. You're getting it? So that is a human being in the most clear terms. A human being is a decision maker. A human being is someone who has a choice. How do you define a human being? He is someone who has a choice. And how you exercise these choices decides your life. Choose very, very carefully. Right? Next question. Who can best answer the basic questions related to human existence, our reasons for survival, our life, our emotions, our death? Can science with its meta-narratives answer these questions? Or will the Upanishads answer it? Science does not even look into these questions. Science is concerned only with the objective world. Science does not look into the subject. You are the subject. The ego is the subject. Who exists? The ego exists. All existence is for the ego, because all existence is only for the one who experiences its own existence. The body does not experience its own existence. So the real existing one is the ego. Take an example. When you are in a coma, or take a less severe condition, even when you are just unconscious, the body is still functional. But do you exist? Will you say you exist? Well, others can say that you exist, because right now the others are in a healthy state of consciousness. So even your existence can be verified at that stage only by others. But if you are asked, do you exist? Would you say yes? Forget about responding to others. To yourself, do you say that you exist? Do you feel that you exist? No, you don't. The body is still intact. The organs are still functional. But you do not really exist. So existence has to do with consciousness. And consciousness has to do with the one at the center of all consciousness, which is the I sense. The I ego. Science does not look into that. Therefore, it's futile to expect science to answer questions relating to human existence, the purpose of existence, why we are restless. These things science won't go into. The Upanishads, yes, definitely. If you go to the Upanishads, then the ego is all that they talk of. Even though the knowledge contained in Upanishads is called Brahma Vidya, yet essentially what the Upanishads explore is the nature of the self. Right? That's what you must figure out if you want to lead a healthy and liberated life. Obviously, science is wonderful, and if you want to know about the material world, if you want to know your surroundings, then science is indispensable. And if you are interested in knowing yourself, then it's the Upanishads that you must go to. Question. When something good or bad happens to someone unexpectedly, is it karma or mere coincidence? The happening is just a random coincidence. How you experience the happening is your own decision, your own doing. In other words, karma. Get the difference right, please. The material world is not predetermined. It is not even deterministic. It is random in the real sense of the word. There are just too many cause and effect nodes to take care of, and additionally there is the unpredictable element of free will involved with respect to many of the actors. Even if the entire material world were a colossal machine, we could have said that a day will come when we'll be able to fully map the machine, and if we can know the machine fully, then we can determine predict all that would happen in the machine at a particular time, at a particular place, then everything becomes predictable. But not only is the machine gigantic, several parts of the machine carry free will. So unexpected things happen. Therefore, you cannot know really what's going to happen next in the external world. It is going to be a coincidence. Kindly do not think that things are predetermined or that certain things are happening to you because you are destined to experience them. No, nothing of that kind. Fatalism is a sham. The external world is truly unpredictable. Having said that, how you respond to what happens to you is very much your own decision, and you have all authority there, all ownership there, and a lot of possible freedom there. Are you getting it? So things happen. Whether they are good or bad depends on your response, and it depends on your inner constitution. From where does your inner constitution come? Now, your inner constitution is not really random, because you are a conscious being. You have freedom in deciding what you must be, and you have freedom in building yourself up. The one who responds to an experience from within is not a random occurrence. The one who responds to an external stimulus is the result of your entire life journey. Are you getting it? See, the same thing can happen to two people and they might respond very differently, correct? So, how are these two people responding differently? Surely the external event is the same. Definitely then something inside them is different. Getting it? From where does this thing inside really come? It comes from the accumulated set of your choices. And that is what is called karma in popular parlance. So you bring yourself to a stage where you will respond negatively or favorably to an incident. You bring yourself to a stage where an incident will impact you greatly or not impact you at all. That's your doing. That's what you have done. So it's not that good things are happening to you or bad things are happening to you. Things are things. Situations are situations. Events are events. External stimuli are just external. You have no control over them. But potentially you have all possible control over the one within who responds to external situations. That's where your authority lies. That's what you can control. That's what you must have all power over. That is life. That is the entire purpose of life. And that is freedom. Otherwise, you are just a slave of situations. Situations can come and drive you mad. That's no way to live. Are you getting it? So you ask me, good and bad things that happened, are they coincidence or karma? In other words, a result of our past actions, deeds, choices, etc. Both. To what extent are these things coincidental? To the extent they are external. The external world, we said, is random. Anything can happen anytime to anybody. There is no guarantee of any fixed thing happening. At best, things are probabilistic. Getting it? But when it comes to the inner world, how you respond to what happens to you, it is your choice, your decision. And that decision cannot be taken fully in this moment itself, because it's a thing that accumulates. You have to build yourself up rightly. You cannot say, I want to remain uninfluenced by all the catastrophic situations outside and wish that what you want just happens. If you really want to be uninfluenced by external situations, you'll have to work very hard at developing that kind of a core within. And that is karma. Are you getting it?